What is this fish? What is that fish? What face of a fish does that resemble? I'm about to close the mouth on this fish. No, we'll go with it. Let's keep the mouth open. I closed the mouth, I just couldn't handle it. Not today, fellas. Now it's the perfect shape. That's gonna be a beautiful bait, and I think the lip's gonna fit great. Am I rhyming? Fun facts. Fun facts on walleyes. This fish is a type of pike perch. That's a new one. Oh, that's all that they had to say. There's nothing else. I have to use Wikipedia. Guys, nothing else is said about the walleye perch. Excuse me, wall-eyed pike. Britannica has nothing else to say about that. Okay, whatever. Wikipedia. This fish is also called the yellow pike, or the yellow pickerel. Fishing is full of dudes that do not care what you call that fish. They'll have whatever name they want for that fish. Standardization's pretty dull anyway. I'd rather hear the names, you know? So the yellow walleye is distinguished from the blue walleye. Blue walleyes are a subspecies of walleye in Ontario and Quebec, but it's now presumed that they're extinct. However, see, this is, Wikipedia does a lot of this where they're just, like they say something, but then they say but, and then say something else, and then but, and it ends up not making any sense. However, recent genetic analysis preserved from frozen blue walleye samples suggest that blue walleye and yellow walleye were simply phenotypes within the same species and do not merit separate taxonomic classification. So there's an entire article in Wikipedia that started saying something, but then said whatever, it wasn't true. Never mind. We are not starting these fun facts off to a good start. The name walleye comes from its eyeballs. I don't know if they're pearlescent. They're just reflective and white, luminous. Helps them see in low light conditions, but it gives the eyes the opaque appearance of like fogginess. But their behavior depends a lot on their vision. They avoid bright light and they feed in low light. They like it dark when they're feeding because other fish can't see in the dark as well as they can. Night fishing for walleye is very much a thing. Night fishing for walleye with trolling lures, like 4 to 6 inch divers, get down there in the depths. Anyway, why is this where the name walleye walleye. They never explain exactly how they've achieved the name of walleye, but it has to do with their eyes. You guys want to see a walleye larva? Look at that fella. So there's a large article on Wikipedia about their weight and their length. This is one of those fish that are very, very sought after. Game fish. Around here people have walleye boats, not bass boats. Bass boats are for girls, walleye boat, men. That's how it is around here. I'm not making any judgments, I'm just letting you know that's how it is around here. So Wikipedia says, as walleyes grow longer, they increase in weight. Thanks Wikipedia, but they give you the growth chart for length and girth, and then they'll give you a weight. That's used a lot in walleye fishing, of course. Reproduction. They don't start doing it, reproduction does not begin until 4 or 3 years of age, somewhere between there for a walleye. I hear it's kind of difficult to get walleye to spawn. You need moving water and rocks. It's hard to achieve in a pond. It's hard to achieve in a large, like in a lake even. You need a really, really big lake with some water flow somewhere. So yeah, the adults, they go to streams in late winter, early spring, and they lay their eggs over gravel and rock. Shoal spawning. So they're in very shallow water, like trickling water. That's where they spawn. Even sand and vegetation. So they'll spawn and lay eggs in very turbulent, really where you don't think you would want to do that. That's where they do that. You'd think they'd want somewhere deep, like under a big rock and safe, you know? A large female can lay up to 500,000 eggs. We're getting close to 500,000 subscribers. That just reminded me of that. I don't know if we'll be there by this video, but probably after it though. Thanks fellas. And no care is given to the eggs or the fry. That little larva that I showed you gets no love. Completely abandoned, and it's on its own to survive. The walleye is considered to be a quite palatable freshwater fish. Yeah, it's like, that's what you eat when you eat fish. Freshwater, you eat walleye, crappie and bluegill, and catfish. And some pickled muskie, I'm just kidding. Unnecessarily pissing off musky fishermen. Fishing for walleyes is regulated by most natural resource agencies. You got groups of real smart men telling all the fishermen when and where to fish. Management may include use of quotas and length limits to ensure that populations are not overexploited. So walleyes shorter than 15 inches, that's the limit, may not be legally kept. Or one time on the river here, I was fishing with a bait. I can't remember which one. It was for a video. But I spent like hours at this spot. Next to me was a guy that was fishing for walleyes, and every single cast he was catching one, just bloop, throw it in the bucket, bloop, throw it in the bucket. He filled up a 5-gallon bucket and left. I wasn't gonna say nothing.
Excuse me, mister? I don't think you're supposed to be doing that.
Walleyes are a pretty intense fish to go after though. They're very unpredictable, and they like to bite at crazy times. A term used by walleye anglers is walleye chop. It's when there's rough water, winds up to like probably not 20 miles per hour, but really rough winds, and they bite in those conditions. So like guys will be out there on their boats getting thrown around and catching walleye in their raincoats and gear, and it's probably cold out. Walleye fishing, man. I don't know, walleye don't really fight very good. If you're fishing for meat, that's like the fish to go for. But if you're game fishing and you just want to feel some tug, you should probably just go to the river and throw big baits. Catch pike or muskie or bowfin or wiper or smallmouth, even largemouth. And walleye. Fishing's fishing, man. Don't love a certain fish too much. You got a rod, line, fish, pull, catch, eat or don't eat, throw back. Fishing. Well, we're not talking about walleye anymore, so fun facts are over. That is a straight lip. There's like nothing on the face. It's just a little notch that went in there. Filled it with super glue. It's also going to be pinned in from the front line tie. Through the lip, I felt it making fizzing noises. There's a really tight screw, a lot of glue. It's coming out the nose, went through the lip. That is going nowhere. That's probably the end of fun facts. I have to mentally time this stuff and coordinate it, and I'm usually pretty off, but that's probably the end of fun facts. Now we just have to seal the wood and paint the bait and clear coat it and stuff. But I did some detail on those gills, dude. And I tried to do it real clean. It's gonna require some glass eyes. I have the perfect size ones right here. They'll dome out a little bit like that. It will look good. Some oil-based polyurethane, ultra flat finish. I think I figured out that that's what goes best with airbrush paint. I sanded it down to 400 grit too, everywhere, even on the scale or the gills. Starting with white. Detail sepia, very dark. Smidget of wine pearl on the belly. Wanted that to pretty much do nothing. And then got a new airbrush, by the way. This is the Iwata Micron. You can pretty much conquer the entire world with this. So I decided to buy it. It was not cheap, but I'm happy with my purchase. I love this airbrush. I have a little bit of color shift powder mixed with translucent base, and it's just making it sparkly. It's not really making it shift. A little bit usually goes too far. This is adding the color green to the bait though. And that's kind of how walleyes work. You don't put green on the bait. With an effect, you add green usually with walleyes. Hopefully you catch some sparkles there. And that was chartreuse. Makes you think a little bit more green. Okay, we're done with the green. Sticky paper towels. Okay, let's clear coat. I'm kind of stuck anyway. I don't know where to go from here. So you put a clear coat on and it looks kind of different, and it usually helps. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be clear coat, scales, and then once I get the scales on, I can establish a lateral line and go from there. And then they have the bars, so I didn't show it at all on camera because I was so concentrated. But I applied a 2-part epoxy clear coat, let it drip for a while, vertically like that. And then I added denatured alcohol to my airbrush and sprayed it. And somehow it penetrated that epoxy and made it thin. And it all dripped off, the excess, but the outside's just incredibly smooth and glossed over. Not just gloss, but the gloss is even. You can't see imperfections in the clear coat, but it's extremely thin. That's revolutionary. I didn't realize that would do that. I'm very, very happy that I tried that, because this is gonna make all of my baits from now on look way better. All right, let's get some scales on here. I'm using this extremely fine mesh. Super, super small scales. It's what walleyes need. It's got what walleyes crave. We're gonna go very heavy with the gold. There's gonna be gold, there's gonna be pearl platinum. That's it. If I complicate it more than that, it'll look stupid. Gold and pearl platinum towards the bottom. But once that's on, we can establish the lateral line as well as those bars. This is like the #1 step in painting a lure where you do not rush. When you're putting your mesh on for your scales, make it perfect. So I'm looking really close at both sides, making sure that the fabric's pressed to the body. I don't really care about the gills. I'm probably gonna cover the gills up when I spray the body. I wanna be able to paint one side, let it dry, flip it over, and then paint the other. Let that dry. I can't use the heat gun. I have to let it air dry. The heat gun just destroys this mesh instantly. Looks awfully shiny. Ooh. That looks like walleye scales. It's a good start, man. I'm gonna start piling up the detail on the gills too, using that same technique with the weird mesh. Starting with platinum in the middle, there's the white's already on there, and then moving up to gold towards the top. A lot of it too. Almost making one solid color with like little deviations of detail and texture and stuff. I have a very liquidy, reduced detail smoke black that I'm mixing up here. We need to make this lateral line. I'm gonna start by making it as thin as possible and just putting where it goes on the bait. Also not just making it a super bold, straight, definitive line. Now I go scale by scale and I see like what scale is closest to the line, kind of cover that in, next one cover it in, and that'll make a really natural looking lateral line. Although that looks fine as it is. That'll take you places right there. You don't have to do much more than that. Sometimes you kind of have to hurry. My paint right here, it's the perfect consistency, but it's drying. The reducers dries faster than water. And I need to get the other side down here, but look at that. Walleye texture, man. Without your consent, or telling you anything, I painted those gill plates, or gill striations, or gill ribs, or gill flaps, whatever you call those, white, and then I'm gonna come back over with some sort of pearl pink, maybe that pearl wine color, because it went really good on this walleye. And then very, very subtle highlights of like straight up chartreuse. Finish painting that fin. I think I painted that fin off camera as well without your consent. So, almost done. Really, that was a simple paint job. It looks fantastic. No, that side's my favorite. This side's my favorite. Let's finish this, I'll show you. The eyeballs too, I gotta paint. There's some green there. This is nerve-wracking because you can instantly overdo it. That looks good. That looks great. It needs a tiny bit more. I'm just trying to work up the courage. In person, it made it way more complex. Having that white on those flaps and then kind of spraying the whole thing with pearl wine gave it some depth. Like those flaps are brighter. That little flap above the flaps are darker, then the plates are darker, and that just made it nice and complex. I've really been liking just the brushwork fins. They look very natural, but then it also gives you the, like instantly when you look at the bait, you can tell they were painted with a brush and it's like, dang, somebody did that. It was me. I think it promotes the natural look too. No crispy lines, you know? So these glass eyeballs, we need to paint them with an airbrush first. This is pearl platinum. A light coat over the whole thing is what I first do for walleye eyes. And I give them a gray pupil. I'll show you what this makes the pupil look like. Ooh, that was a perfect one. I almost screwed it up, but it's perfect. Little oblong, three-sided pupil. Tried to do the same thing on that one, but I couldn't. See how you can see the pupil, but you can't, you know, it's not definitive. That looks great. This is a color that's already on the bait, that pearl wine. Put a little bit of that on half of the eye is what I'm gonna do. Yes, sir. Fleshy eyeballs, man. I feel the need to use 5-minute epoxy while gluing these eyes in because the cavity for the eye is pretty deep. Wow. Does that look good, Chippy? Chip, come here. See you, Chip. So now that we are close to clear coat, I get this out and I shoot every fly in the shop and then I clear coat. Those flies were fornicating. Need the doom music. It genuinely helps. Like, you need to get the flies out of your shop because for some reason they always like to land on your lure when you're clear coating it. What am I adding? We're gonna add an interference violet. This tends to lean on the blue side, which is good for the walleye, but it's not gonna be a flake coat. It's gonna be an interference coat and then a clear coat with nothing in it on top of that. 2 clear coats on top of the paint and we're done. By the way, I use True Coat 2-part epoxy clear coat. I recommend it. Yeah, I can say with confidence it's the best 2-part epoxy clear coat for fishing lures, period. Because I have tried them all, and that one's the best. I can just say that, I guess, because I've tried them all. I suppose by all, I mean the ones that people usually use for lure making. I have not tried every 2-part epoxy clear coat that exists. That would take the rest of my life. 0.18. Gotta remember numbers when I'm talking, this isn't good. I've never been one to rely on what you add to the clear coat to make your bait look better. I've always been like erring on the side of caution with clear coat stuff. Some people, they put tons and tons of glitter in it and it's like that's the color for their lure. And they layer up different clear coats. Looks great, but you know, you put all that work into painting and you don't just want to cover it up with something. So this is a very, very slight blue. Just once in a while at the right angle it pops up. I actually take like 2-minute breaks when I'm stirring my epoxy and let it settle and like soak into itself and then stir it again. I take the full working time on this epoxy. The working time's 30 minutes and I usually take 30 minutes to apply it to a bait. Doing it that way completely eliminates any chance of sticky striations or tacky epoxy or anything. Just a crazy amount of detail and a very simple bait because it's just a shallow running crankbait, jerkbait style thing. I need to remember to bring another hook in case that feather trebles too much. Otherwise, it's ready to go. 1.52 ounces. So I can use my lighter bait caster rod. Is that feather treble too much? Yeah, it's just too much. I'm gonna take the feather treble off, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you are partial to feather trebles. I just, from my experience, that's gonna take a lot of action away from the body. And I don't have time for Chelsea to make a smaller one. She's taking care of a newborn and a 2-year-old right now, so she doesn't actually have time. Hooks secured. Need to make a tackle warehouse order. I usually get the Owner Zo-Wire amazing hooks. Extra strong thin steel. Slides that point in there and there's effortless hook sets, man. I can appreciate the Gamakatsus too. The sun is doing an awful lot for this bait too. Look at that. You can see all the sparkles. Wow, that's almost what it looks like in real life. See if anything's craving a walleye. Actually, literally going to the other side of the pond first so I can take a better thumbnail. The YouTube hustle is merciless. You gotta do what you gotta do. Oh no. Okay, I figured out that the GoPro sucks for taking thumbnails. So, we're just gonna figure out the action of this bait. Absolutely immaculate action. Fish on. Woo! Before the thumbnail. What do we got? It's probably a bass. It's a good bass. It's a great bass. No scale. Great. No phone. No scale. It's official. Big bass like walleye. Be free. And we quickly made it official. That was probably 20 casts. Okay, I caught that fish. Already official. I'm gonna go to a different spot, get a thumbnail of this actually. It's the most important thing about the YouTube video, you know? New pond. Okay, we got some thumbnails. I don't know how many pictures I just took, but it was an unnecessary amount. Got one. I even saw it hit. You guys probably did too. Came out of nowhere. Boy, did he get hooked. There you go, buddy. Good, sticky, sharp hooks. Catches fish. And it's official, walleye. Catch bass. And bass like walleye. I need a different species. Oop. Oh my goodness. Had some life in him. Be free. He achieved his own freedom. Good for him. We need more bass like that in this world. These big crankbaits and around where I fish, there's no pattern that you can fish with these things and they're reliable. It's all very, very random hits. It's just a bass with a lot of courage decides to hit the big bait, you know? That's always fun. The hits come out of nowhere and they're very exciting. 40 minutes between hits. I need to think. Good long think here. Where can I go to catch something other than a bass? Wow. Maybe this is a sign. Oh, geez. See, I just kind of disrespected bass and that happened. I got a bite, started reeling it in, didn't set the hook and I lost it. Be careful disrespecting bass, fellas. Just had lunch, back out fishing with the walleye, right? I think this place has high hopes. Since it's rained so much, it's a very shallow spillway, but the fish really come up here when it rains. So pike, smallmouth, bass, muskie, who knows? Let's go. I even changed my shirt because I needed to take a shower, but I just decided to change my shirt instead. You guys ever do that? I just did that. Why am I talking about that? Let's fish. Making one last effort. And if this does not work, I guess we just caught bass. Now this is the water level that the pike spot should be at. One rod, one reel, and one lure. Well, my GoPro overheated. Did not get the catch footage of this gar, but he got hooked good right in the mouth. Let me unhook him real quick, I'll show you. Okay, he's unhooked and he stinks. Look at that guy. Needle nose gar. It's official. Gar. Like walleyes. That took about an hour. Get out of my kayak, be free. That is technically another species with the walleye crankbait. A very undesirable species, but 2 species, man. Oh, I got the best wife in the world. She just got me a Cobb salad from Chick-fil-A. That was one of the most effeminate things I've ever said. But I am not ashamed of it right now. I am starving. I wanted to give here another hour. I might not. Might be like a half hour. Those gar were beating this bait up. Big old front tooth scratches. Look at that. I was able to see a pike hit this bait too at the pike spot, but completely missed. I think just hit the top of the bait or something and swam off. But kind of shows you how good that true coat epoxy is though. That's just 2 coats and it was just getting beat up by gar all day and pike and nothing penetrated the actual clear coat, just scratches on the surface. Good stuff. Some rough summer fishing though. If I was to put that kind of time into on seasons like spring or fall, or just an untold number of fish would have been caught, but we pulled out what we could for the time of the year. Fantastic success of a bait right here. That's it. Let's keep this video simple. That's it. Hope you enjoyed. Video's over. On to the next bait. It's got what walleyes crave. Sticky paper towel. Making fizzing noises. I'm not making any judgments. He stinks. Ooh, that was a perfect one.
Excuse me, mister?
Fish on. Get out of my kayak. See you, Chip.